Good morning, everybody, and welcome to our webinar, Scheduling for Superheroes, or How to Become a Scheduling Superhero. Good morning to some of you, good afternoon to others. I know we have quite a broad audience from many different time zones. So today we're going to cover scheduling for events, or put another way, how you plan who needs to do what, when, and where. We will cover how to create schedules, how you share the schedules, and how you check those schedules. And also, really importantly, how you update your schedules. We're going to cover all of this in 30 minutes. We'll keep it 30 minutes or less. But if you want to stay on and continue the discussion post the 30 minutes, feel free to do so. I will try and answer questions as I go through. Apologies if I miss them. But as I said, I will try and do that. So, scheduling. We've said who needs to do what, where, and when. What is the typical people that need a schedule around events? Well, if you look at a small event, we're probably looking at maybe the trainer or speaker will need some form of schedule, when to turn up, who to meet, all that sort of stuff. Probably the venue, whoever's looking after the venue, whoever maybe is doing the AV, needs to know when to turn up, what to do. You start getting to a larger event though, and the number of people who actually need schedules increases quite dramatically. So you've got things like AV schedules, AV runs. With the speakers, they need to know more than just when their session is. They need to know when to turn up, when rehearsals, all of those things. Same goes for all of your sponsors and exhibitors. You also have things like photographer schedules, videographers, media, all that. So there's an awful lot of people that need to know where and when to be. And as you all know, and I'm sure everyone on this call has done plenty of events from before, sending out those schedules and keeping them all updated is really time consuming. So Joy can save you that time. And what I'll do is start off by explaining how schedules start to be built out in Joy. So if we go into our scheduling superhero event here, I've got a program I've started here. I've just put in the first morning. Now, if I go to on-site schedule, I will automatically see that room location that I put in the program actually appear, and all the details around the sessions and their timing. So I can now actually start putting in my run sheet, room access, setup times, and all of those activities. If I go back to the program and add a room location, as you know, in Joy, your program is built by a series of room locations. So if I put this in as a breakout, and add that room location, it inherits the date and room, etc., from or the venue from the previous one. You'll see that when I go into the schedule, that is automatically created a schedule for that breakout room. So you can also create standalone schedules. Apologies for that little delay there. You can also create standalone schedules. So these are for rooms that you wouldn't want to be in the program. So the program here, you're building something out that effectively you want to show to your attendees. So this is really the schedule for attendees at the event. In the on-site schedule, it's very logistical. So you're putting in activities that you want your team to know about. So you can add in a standalone schedule. This will automatically inherit the date for the schedule. And let's say that's an event office. Or it could be a speaker prep room. It could be, bus pickup. Anything that you need to be able to schedule around, but you don't want to appear in the program for attendees. And that's going to be in the lobby of the hotel. So you can then actually start obviously scheduling everything in there. And also it handles time zones as well in those schedules. So if I just show you quickly another event, we did this. So we've got an event, ROI Masterclass. The program here is, as you see, the program here is just a simple 3 sessions. The difference is that this is actually to be held in Perth, in a room in Perth, or a venue in Perth, because gloriously COVID restrictions have been lifted and we've actually got live people turning up for an event. So we've got the event happening in Perth, but you see there's an outer session here, virtual presentation by Sally. And I've created another schedule because Sally is actually going to be zooming in to this event, and she will be doing her presentation from her sitting room in Sydney. So you'll see that the display time, when we look at here, it's got her time zone as Sydney, but we've got the option of putting in a display time as well. So the display time is actually Perth, which means that when I put a session in, it says 9:45, but in brackets here, I've got 12:45, 1300, because that's the actual time it is for Sally. And when I go to the on-site schedule, the virtual room shows the display time in Perth, but it also shows the time for Sally. So when I'm doing the line test, I schedule it for 8:30 in the morning in Perth, because I'm the techie doing that line check. But for Sally, that's going to be 11:30 in the morning. So you can just have only one display time zone, because obviously you couldn't manage more than one display time zone. You confuse all of your attendees, but you can have as many production time zones as you want. And obviously with the schedules, it'll show that time zone. And when we get onto calendar subscriptions, obviously that is critical. You need to have the time zone for that to work in calendars. So I'm going to go back to my scheduling superhero, and we're just going to have a quick look at those activities that you can create. So if I do room access, open that up, I can add more detail to any activity going on. If I want to go, Dave has the keys or something like that. I can also put a label on there and call that label anything I want. And I can tag people to it. So here we've got workforce, performers, sponsors, and exhibitors. So if I click on performers, I'll see all of the performers I've got in here. If I want Catwoman to be there at the opening, I can do done. And also with my workforce. So the event manager wants to be there at that event, and that is done. So I can actually have an activity. And any activity that I put in here will be seen by anyone who is on the workforce, which I'll come to in a moment. However, the reason you have that tagging and labels is so we can create the custom schedules that we're going to come to a bit later. So as far as the workforce goes, as I said, anyone that you put on the workforce will actually see all of the activities scheduled. And what they can do with that depends on their permission level. So here, the event manager, who's the event owner, has got program access, which means that they can build and change the program. Colin here has been invited in for logistics, which means he can add things to the schedule, but he can't change the program at all. So he can do everything other than change the program. And then we've got Luke as our guest, which means he can just see everything in read only, which is the preview view. So here we've got the preview view for the program, and the preview view for an on-site schedule is actually the timeline view. So a guest can see that. So those are people who are actually in the workforce. But what we want to do now is know how we can create a custom schedule. So what I will do is go to an event with a whole lot more activities within that event. So I'm going to go to my Joy Sales Kickoff. The program here is a fairly standard conference program. So you can see I've got a plenary, I've got breakout rooms, I've got a social, bit of yoga, drinks parties, etc. So fairly standard conference type activity. What custom schedules can I create? Well, the first thing to point out is for anyone on the workforce. So people on the workforce you've invited, you've set their permission level, and they have a role to perform. All of those will actually automatically get a custom schedule, which is their My Schedule. And My Schedule will be for the person that's logged in. So in this case, it's the event manager. And what appears in My Schedule is any of those activities that they have been tagged to, as well as any sessions they have been tagged to. Now, what I'll also point out is the information that flows through. So in this case, I've got meet with the venue team and run through the schedule. The plenary, when I've set up the plenary in the program, has got a bit of information attached to it. So it's got stage setup notes, it's got the floor plan and stage visuals. So that information that I actually put in when I was making the program. So in the build, I went in and I can do setup notes, and those are the setup notes there. When I'm in the schedule, I can access all of those setup notes from the schedule. So I'm event manager is automatically seeing this. Also got all the information on the experience zone. And also the same applies to sessions. So all the information that's attached to a session, including presentations, etc., is accessible to people who are on the workforce. So to get that deeper access, you need to be on the workforce. All you have to do to make sure they can see their schedule is make sure they're tagged to all of the activities and sessions that you want them to be involved with, and you can put in all of your instruction. So that automatically is done. With the Joy dashboard, obviously it comes in tiles when you look at it when you first go into an event. This has been very much created for mobile. So when you go in and look at Joy on an event on your mobile, you can access all of this information really easily by just touching the tile. So things like certainly workforce contact details, all of those things you can see really easily on your mobile. But your My Schedule obviously is a tile there, so it's really easy for them to get on site, click on My Schedule, and go see the activities they need to do. One of the things that also appreciative for an event manager is that anyone can tick an activity as complete. So if you've allocated it to one of your team, they can mark the activity as completed and it fades out and you get a little green tick. So while they're working on their schedule, if they tick things off, when you're on the master schedule, you'll actually be able to see that that has been done. So if I go to the master schedule, look at the timeline, then I will be able to see that that team briefing has been ticked off. And I should show you as well the schedule here. Obviously, that timeline schedule has every single activity and every single session for the whole of the event in it. So who else gets a custom schedule automatically? The performers do. So if I go over to the performer list, anyone you put in to the program as a performer obviously appears in this list, or you can create them as a performer in this list. When you go to the performer brief, as part of that brief, they will automatically, let's click on Emily, open up her brief. As part of that brief, they automatically get a schedule. And obviously, any activity that they've been tagged in will appear in this schedule, and any session they have been tagged on. If they're the presenter, obviously you don't have to tag them because they're automatically tagged to that session as the presenter or speaker performer. if you want them to turn up to a party and have that appear in their schedule, so they're not actually presenting, then you just tag them to that actual session. So they get that automatically. You'll see that when you can send that to them as a URL, and also they've got the option of doing a calendar subscription that I'll come back to. But they get that schedule automatically. Sponsors don't get a brief. We haven't had any cases where people have said sponsors need a brief in the same way as presenters and exhibitors, but I'll come on to how you can create them a custom schedule. Exhibitors are the same as performers in as much as they automatically get a schedule within their brief, and it displays everything that they need to do. There are two ways they've actually seen this information. One is using the label exhibitors, and the other is actually a filter on their name. So exhibitors, you can also send a custom brief, and it's automatically filtered by what they have been tagged to. So any activity or any session they're tagged on, they will actually see that. One thing to note there is when you actually do create an activity. So let's look at this booth exhibitor access. When I go to tagging, you'll see with exhibitors, you can actually select all. So if you need to select all exhibitors because you want them to all get that message on booth access, then it is simple as clicking that one button and everyone is tagged onto that event. And it's the same deal with performers. So for instance, if it was a drinks party you wanted them to turn up to, you can select all and they will all automatically be tagged to that given event. So it's fairly easy to tag who you need to with those. The other part that is not necessarily considered a classic schedule, but it's a schedule all the same, is facilitator notes. So the performer gets custom notes, obviously my schedule does. The other thing is the facilitator, and what Joy does is actually prepare notes based on a given room location. So in this case, we've got a plenary session, and normally you have to prepare a separate document that has the details about the session and also the performers and their bios, etc. Joy puts all of that information into a format where you can then add whatever notes are needed. And you might have noticed that in the workforce, we had, if you actually look at the permission levels that there's one called facilitator notes. This means that someone with program access, so we've got the event manager here, can actually give access to the facilitator, so the facilitator can also contribute to facilitator notes. So both of you can work on it effectively at the same time. And it is a schedule in as much as this has got the run of that given room location for that facilitator. These notes are great, but actually a lot of people in virtual events have been using these as the show run by putting all the notes in, sharing those notes with the operators and using that effectively to run the show. So that is facilitator notes. Now we get on to the actual custom schedules. We talked about suppliers, volunteers, all of those sorts of things. When you look at on-site schedule, again, we've got the master schedule. Fabulous if you're the event manager and you want to know everything that's going on. You can see it here. Obviously, you don't want to give all that information to everybody else. You'll notice up here we've got a filter, and this filter allows you to filter by any of these values. So we've got the room location, you can filter by those, you can filter by people in the workforce. And by the way, people only appear here when you've actually tagged them to a session or activity. So not everyone in the workforce in my test event has been tagged to an activity or session, so that's why you're not seeing them. You can obviously print out a schedule for a standalone schedule. So if you wanted to print out that speaker prep room schedule for someone, you could do that. The labels that you apply to a session, and also the labels that you apply to an activity. So I've got a few labels here. The sponsors. So again, if I select a sponsor, you'll see that schedule and I'll be able to send it to them. Now this is where you filter just to look. So if I wanted to go, I want to know what Emily is up to, I can apply that filter and see what Emily is up to. So this is a great place for you to check a schedule before you actually share a schedule. So you can go, cool. You can also do that with a number of performers. So if I'm going, actually, I want to meet with Emily, let's look at Rob's schedule at the same time and see when it's a good time to meet up. Go, okay, Rob's presenting, then Emily, she's got an interview. Rob's presenting at 2 o'clock, so maybe good time to meet will be around 1 o'clock. That can save you hours. So this is where you can literally check and look at any schedule. Now you want to go, brilliant. That is all very well, but I still need to share that schedule. So if I actually just change that filter to, let's say, the media, when you're putting your event together, you might not know who the photographer is or videographer. So I've actually used a label on all of the activities where I want the photographer there. And obviously, to reiterate, any activity you put in automatically creates or adopts the room location of that given schedule. So that means that any activity you put in, you don't have to, and brief you send out, you don't have to worry about putting in the address because it's automatically there. So time and address will always be there. So I've just checked that. I'm happy that the media schedule is correct and I want to share it. So if I go over to share, I haven't actually done any shared schedules. So I'm going to do a shared schedule. I'm going to call it media. Oh, sorry, my appalling typing. I'm going to call it media. I'm going to add that timeline. Don't really need a description. When I click it open, obviously it will open up to everything. So every activity and session, I can then just go down to my label media, apply, and there we have the media schedule. I want to share that. I click the share button and got the share now. So a couple of things here. You've got the subscribe to calendar or open in a new tab. So with the copy URL, you can send that to your photographer once you know who it is, or the media company to pass on to their freelancer or whatever that they've booked. But and to see what they see, you can open it in a new tab. So Dunk opens up in a new tab. So if you send them that URL, this is what they'll see. The advantage of this as well is that they can go, brilliant, that all looks good, but I want to stick it in my calendar. So everyone, you saw that on performer briefs, they have subscribed to calendar. On exhibitors, they have subscribed to calendar, and also on any share that you create, it will have a subscribe to calendar. And this couldn't be simpler. So all you do is you click on the subscribe to calendar, you copy that URL, you then go to your email, calendar client. So in this case, I'm using Outlook. I go up here to add a calendar from the internet. I then click into that URL, copy that URL and go OK. The advanced bit here actually just gives you, main thing is it gives you the opportunity to put in a name. So for the media person, they'll probably call it Joy Sales Kickoff. Do OK, yes, and Dunk. All their activities appear in their calendar. And if they open up that calendar entry, then it'll have a link back to the actual schedule in Joy. So they'll be able to go back to the Joy. So for the first time ever, you can actually get a schedule into someone's calendar. And if you think about it, certainly from a speaker perspective, when you're handling a lot of executives, if all the EAs actually did calendar subscriptions for all of the executives, they get an overlay of who is doing what. Certainly if you use Microsoft, it all appears in a convenient different color. So you can see exactly who is doing what, which will cut out hours and hours of time when you're stuffing around trying to work out when people can meet or when they can do rehearsals or any other thing. A couple of really important things to note is that calendars don't update instantly. So the beauty of a URL or sending someone a URL for a brief is that you make a change to the master and the URL will update. So, you know, if I go behind the scenes photo shoot is 1600 on Monday, the 1st of February. If I actually, sorry, I've just got a problem with my Zoom control getting in the way of what I want to do. So if I actually go back into my event and go back to build and change that 1600 on Monday the 1st, which was my behind the scenes photo shoot, and go, actually, we want to do that at 1500 now. I've updated it in the master schedule, and of course, for that share for the media, when they open, obviously when they look at that, it will update automatically to 1500. So that whole thing of actually having to keep documents updated just disappears, because everything is kept updated from one central location. And you know that whenever anyone looks at their schedule, they're going to be looking at the latest schedule. And if you think of that, you know, week building it or 2 weeks building into a big conference, it means you don't have to stay up till 3 o'clock in the morning sending out revised schedules to people, because you know you just change the master and everyone gets an update. You do have to note, however, with people using it in calendars, that that update is not instant. So for all the Joy users using Outlook, that update is between 5 and 10 minutes to actually, for that change to update in your calendar. It's about the same with Apple. The one that you have to be careful of is Google, because Google calendars only update every 8 hours. Or 8 to 10 hours. So it's great if you're sending someone a schedule beforehand, but it's not great if you are probably going to be updating the schedule on the day to use Google. Use Apple, use Outlook. Thing is that in the corporate environment, most people are using Outlook anyway. So that works just fine. So that is how you schedule in Joy, which is coming up to the 29 minutes. Very much in summary, your superpowers with Joy. Create your schedule. Obviously, doing the program automatically creates it in build the program in Joy, and you actually build out the schedules. We actually do have people who are not building the whole program. They're actually just putting in the titles and the speakers into Joy, because it's actually quicker to do that than it is to have a second Excel spreadsheet with, you know, all of your logistics in it. Still quicker to run your logistics. Ideal though is to build your program in Joy initially, send that out, share it with your embedded into your websites and registration sites, and run everything directly out of Joy, so you can update everything once. You can customize filters on anything you want, share URLs or calendar. I think the calendar part is completely unique, and it's pretty fabulous when you start using it, because it gets you into people's everyday. And updates, updates are easy. You update once in one place and it updates everyone on the same page, because there is only one page, and that will make you a scheduling superhero. That's the 30 minutes. Thank you very much. If you have any questions, then please feel free to send those through. For anyone that is going to leave us now, thank you very much for participating, and look forward to bringing more joy into your event life. Thanks. Tiffany, got a question here from you. Does it work with Google Calendars? The answer obviously is yes. And Google is as easy as Outlook to put it in. You've just got to be cautious about that delay. But obviously, when you're planning an event, that delay doesn't actually become an issue. If there are any more questions from anyone, please feel free to ask them now. Is there an option to PDF this info into a package and have it all links active? So you can print out PDFs, but obviously that PDF wouldn't be active. The URLs, however, sort of replace that, and you can make those URLs available to people. In documents, can I refer this info onto a UK-based association for their techie to consider? Absolutely. Works all over the world. And there are actually, one thing with this is that you get all of this for the princely starting price of $25 a month. And in the UK, we do have UK pricing. So in the UK, it's £15 a month. So with the do you need to join Joy? If you invite people to your workforce, yes, they have to sign up to Joy. So they put in their email, they put in a password, and they have a Joy ID. And the advantage of that is that when they go into the home page on Joy, they can see all of the events they're working on. So anything and it doesn't matter if it's from different accounts, they'll see everything they're working on here. They don't pay. The only person that actually pays for Joy is the person who created the event. They can then invite as many people to the workforce as they want. We don't actually have a limit on that. So some events they might have, you know, up to 100 people actually on the workforce, and then split out their views. But for all of those shared URLs, the whole point is that if you're, for instance, a speaker, you can just send them that brief and they don't need to be part of Joy. They can get that brief, and likewise with all suppliers, etc. So it's easy to send people live information from Joy, even if they're not part of Joy. So any other questions coming through on that? If there are no more questions, then I will close it all off. So once again, thank you very much for your time. I hope there are no questions because there's such fabulous content, and speak to you all again soon. Thank you very much.